Okay,
Okay. Are we good?
we're good.
Yeah. If you want, Monica, you can drop my the link to schedule a one-on-one session in the chat. It might be easier for folks than putting it in the PowerPoint. Good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody again, and the new folks come in, especially Monica from Haiti. Shout out to Haiti, which are the sweetest people in the Caribbean. The rest of us are kind of shady, but Haiti, not so much. And Latika from DHCD, good old DHCD. Used to get a lot of funding from this. I'm not going to talk about them. And this has all been sponsored by DHCD, so it's good to have you joining us. Okay, so let me just share my screen here. All right. Good. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Just know I have three different screens. So if I'm looking away, it just means I'm looking at the actual the larger screen. I'm getting old, so I have to like wear glasses now and stuff like that. I'm trying to adjust. I'm not good at it. I'm really revolting against getting older. So I'm not, not trying to pay attention to you, but I'm just trying to look at the slide so I can add to key information. All right, and so let's start from the beginning. Again, like Monica said, any questions, please feel free to drop in the chat. She's going to monitor, be on screen, so she'll stop me if there's a question or a comment. This session is slightly different from Tuesday session in that I really want to hear more from you as to your thoughts, because as we did a big intro on Tuesday about what is marketing, and now we're going to go into more specifics about the types of marketing and how do you use it. And while we're talking it through it, you should come up with ideas of, oh, I've seen that kind of ad, or I've seen that kind of post. And I want you to bring those to life, because the more you talk about it, the easier marketing becomes. And once you understand the principles of marketing, you start to recognize it everywhere. And I do have a few examples towards the end that we'll chit chat about. And then from each session moving forward, I'm going to have more and more examples of marketing. So it really comes alive, and it's just not, just principles from a textbook. All right. Okay, just a quick thank you again to Congress Heights for hosting the boot camp, as well as Department of Small Business Development and DHCD for being the sponsors for this. So no matter what you think, this is DC government reinvesting in our community. So please be mindful that take advantage of all of the services that Congress Heights offers. I'm BP. You'll see this is me. We can go over that later, but feel free to email me anytime if you have questions. And Monica has the link to my schedule. At any given time that you want to try to have a one-on-one meeting, you can schedule that. It's all free of no charge. And it's all part of the boot camp. Okay. All right. So on Tuesday, we went over just doing the market research. I really want to embed in everybody's mind that we're going to take the time to do the research. As Monica, Katie Monica, not Monica Jones. We got to come up with another name, but it's all right. As the revolutionist Monica, because of Haiti, you have the United States. I'm just saying, that's just facts. But anyway, so because of Monica, what you brought up earlier is that we want to emphasize that people should take the time to do the market research. And many times entrepreneurs just want to jump into putting up the social media posts or buying the ads because that feels good. But we really want to take the time to do the research so that we can spend our very limited marketing dollars on the right thing that help grow our business. So today's session is going to talk about more about the strategy side of things and understanding the strategy as a principle before we start designing our advertising. And then next week, we're going to talk about more about understanding our customers. So if we understand strategy and then understand our customers, we'll be able to come up with a very nice marketing plan for your business. Okay, so we're going to do a little recap of what happened in session 1. Then we're going to talk a little bit about strategy and then the types of marketing and marketing mix, which are 2 elements we just need to understand. We have a couple of examples and then we'll wrap up for tonight. Okay. Just a little disclaimer. This is not legal or accounting or any of that kind of advice. This is general information. And as I told you, the free resources that we posted in session 1, all of this information are in those resources as well. And it's easy to Google this information. I just kind of pulled it all together in a very practical way. So you have it at your fingertips. As well, just be mindful there's an abundance of information on the internet. So you just got to be careful that you're looking at stuff that's really, high end, top tier information. So let's do a recap and reflect. Okay, so I gave you the definition of a business. Let's just run through that really quickly. So in my little brain, to help me understand, because there's so many types of business, I try to get it down to one succinct sentence. So business is an operation that provides a valuable offering to a customer or a group of customers in exchange for a payment. The key things to remember about that definition is that the operation, meaning it's legally established, it's licensed, it's insured, it has a structure, it has systems, it has policies. So even though you might be the only person in the business, you still have to set it up as if you had employees. Okay, that operation provides a valuable offering. Notice we don't just say products and services, because that's only one part of what a business offers a customer. It's products and services and an experience that provides value to that customer. And when we say value, we actually mean that it's solving a customer problem. It's satisfying a need or a want. Okay, and that's why the market research is so critical, because you're going to need to research the customer, see what do they really need when they're buying your product. So it's going to be providing that offering to a customer or groups of customers. We don't have to limit ourselves to one type of customer. Again, why the market research is key, because then you can find those different groups. And once you find those different groups, you're able to grow your business without investing so much in making up new products. You can increase your market share. And in exchange, you got to collect payment, whatever that may be, whatever the time period might be that meets your value proposition, you have to collect. If you're not making money, you do not have a business. You pretty much have a hobby. But many hobbies have been turned into solid businesses. So don't be afraid. Don't think you can't do it, because you can. Okay. And so as a business, as an operation, we need to be mindful of 2 things. There's an internal environment, and that internal environment are the resources, the culture, the physical setup, that it's either a strength or a weakness. And that business operates in an external environment, meaning that there are a lot of external forces that are going to influence how that business operates. And that's anything from technology. And the COVID has taught us one thing about running a business, is that we have to invest in our technology, because customers they expect to be able to order online. They expect to be able to have some sort of delivery. They expect to have some sort of setup where they can pick up in a different way. All of that is technology-based kind of services. We have government regulations, we have industry and competitive forces. All of that influences how we maneuver and make moves with our business. So we got to make sure we're doing the market research so that none of these things come up as surprises and possibly can hurt our business. Okay. We went over the definition of marketing last time. It's rather extensive, but we started with the big definition first so that we can learn from a great starting point. And according to the American Marketing Association, marketing is the activity set of institutions, processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. In a nutshell, all of the things that we're going to do to market your business, and all the people you're going to use, all the technology and tools you might use, all of those things that are going to making sure that we are creating and communicating value to the customer. So marketing is all about being customer oriented, not oriented on your just solely on what your business wants to do, not oriented on solely on what kind of products you want to offer, but satisfying the needs of the customer. Okay. With that concept in mind, we have to make sure we're always focusing on the customer. And this is very difficult for some entrepreneurs to really kind of absorb, because we want to make products that make us feel good. We want to make products that we think people will need or want, not necessarily what they would need or want. And so you have to be very, very mindful that you're not making decisions based upon your needs instead of making decisions based upon the customer's needs. Okay. One of the big tools we talked about last time was Porter 5 Forces. Most entrepreneurs will not use this tool. I don't know why, but you're going to be different. Congress X is going to be different. Okay. It's one of the simplest business tools you can have. It's literally 4 boxes in which you're writing down notes from your research on your potential buyers, your suppliers, new entrants, meaning new potential products that might be competing against you, substitute products and services, meaning other products and goods and businesses that the customer chooses instead of yours, as well as writing down notes about your competitors. And it's just a simple template. You're just writing bullet points of what you learned through your market research. This helps you start to frame your market strategy. Okay. And we're going to go into more tools on Tuesday, but I want to introduce this one first. So if you get this, if you don't do anything else, you at least have a solid foundation to start developing your market strategy. So we rounded off last time just with a couple of statements, reiterating a couple of statements about being an effective marketer. It requires understanding. You're going to understand your customer, you're going to understand your industry, and you're going to understand your competition. Once we know that we have to invest time in doing that research so we can have that understanding, next is you have to develop the strategy, and then you have to develop your plan. And developing the plan will be our very last session next week, Thursday. We're going to show you how this all brings together into a marketing plan template. We show quite a bit of information, free resources to help you do your market research on Tuesday. We didn't get a chance to go through all the documents. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. So there's an organization called the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. They are a nonprofit, and their whole goal is to market Washington, D.C. to the rest of the nation, as well as to, internationally, to attract businesses to the city. In doing so, they put together a number of really good guides and documentation that you could use as part of your market research, because they've done the hard work and they've put it into some really nice publications. Number one, they have what's called a neighborhood profiles. And so DC is a city of neighborhoods, which is the beauty of the city. There are over 50 different neighborhoods in the city. And they do all the demographic profile of each of those neighborhoods. So you don't even have to do that information. You just can download this guide and you get a wealth of information at your fingertips. They also have a guide called the Emerging Corridors and Opportunity Zones. So there are areas of the city that are designated emerging corridors or opportunity zones because DC government wants to attract more businesses to those areas. And so the Economic Partnership has just put a lot of background information about those locations. And remember when we talked about on Tuesday, location is part of the market research. So if you're trying to target your product to any of these areas of the city, here's another guide that gives you another set of data that you don't have to try to run down. It's very useful information. And they update these guides almost yearly or at least every other year. So you can get this information rather regularly. And then lastly, they have what's called a development report. This might be the most important out of all of them, because the development report highlights all of the major construction projects, whether it's an apartment building, new shopping complexes, whatever it may be, it highlights them across the city. what you need to realize is when you see major construction like that, that means somebody is doing the research that there's an opportunity there. And so if there's an opportunity in that area, you want to know about it because you want to know if you need to tap into it, or you need to know if that area is going to attract competitors that will be competing against your business. So the development guide is very, very handy to identify what's the new and upcoming areas of the city that you need to keep track of. Or is it an area you need to move to? I think Monica talked about maybe having a brick and mortar store in the future. So you want to download that development report, okay? And again, all of these resources are free, okay? And then lastly, I wanted to highlight that the DC Office of Planning, as well as the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, they have a number of research reports on different neighborhoods, different developments, future developments. They have the DC actually has its own strategic plan for the city. So you can download all that information. And again, it's a nice shortcut to getting the kind of data you need for your market research. So I gotta give DC government credit. They have invested heavily in producing data. The only thing now you gotta do is you gotta use it to build your business, okay? So any questions or thoughts from the recap? Any reflections? I don't know if anybody's on the line who was here last week, but who was here on Tuesday. Any thoughts going through your mind? How we feeling? I know a lot of people said they had to digest the information. It was a lot to digest. I get it. But any thoughts?
I just want to say that I've dropped the links to those three reports into the chat.
Beautiful. Okay.
I just had some, I guess, light bulb a little bit just
Sure.
for the emerging corridors and opportunity zones. So my, I guess, like my 9 to 5 is in development, ironically, and just in real estate in general.
Wow,
So
great.
this book right here, I just downloaded the copy of the emerging corridors. It's going to be very, very helpful for me on that end. Well, business too, but thank you for sharing this.
No, but you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the beauty of entrepreneurship. No matter what career you're in or what job you have now, you can bring all of that knowledge as a strength into your business. So if real estate and development is your background, then you have a greater chance of finding the right spot when it's time to open up that brick and mortar. You will recognize, okay, what is a good area to move into, even if it's targeting them on social media or for your e-commerce site. So yes, everything that you have, all your past experience, you got to put that to work to your business. And that's what makes every business unique and increases your chance for success. So you're spot on for how you're thinking about that. Anybody else has a thought? That was a good light bulb moment right there. Okay, Monica, anything in the chat? Okay.
Not yet, not now.
Great. Okay. So I don't have a whole bunch of slides like I did last time, but what's on the slides has a lot of information. And please don't think you have to memorize all this stuff because you don't. All I want you to do is to listen, think about it, see what pops up in your mind as either an idea, like Monica said, like the revolutionist Monica said, do you have a light bulb moment? Does it make you think about something? Does it make you think about your favorite ad, your favorite brand or company? Let all of that stuff flow, because marketing is the creative side of business. This is where you can have a lot of fun. So don't let this become overwhelming. So what I want to start now is just a very basic definition of marketing strategy. And there's a plethora. People say it a lot of different ways, but I just picked the one that's the most basic. Don't overthink this. But at the bottom line, it's your overall game plan for reaching your prospective and current customers. That's it. All you're trying to do is get your product, your message, your brand, whatever your value proposition in front of your customers on a regular basis But the key is just if you don't know who your customers are, you're going to pay money for the wrong placement. Okay. So, but that's that's what strategy is. It's just making that determination of what's the game plan. Okay. So the game plan starts again. I'm going to reiterate this, starts with the market industry, market research. So we've given you a lot of information about how you research your industry, your competition, and how you start researching your target audience by looking at demographic information. You're gonna download a 5 forces template and you're gonna start making notes. Now, once you start making those notes on your 5 forces template, you're gonna start brainstorming what's the strategy. Because here's the thing, it takes a little bit of time to develop it, but you got to start writing down the ideas. And so the things you want to think about is what's the value proposition, what's the message, who is the target, and who's the target customer. So today, what we're going to review is the marketing mix and the types of marketing that you'll use as part of your strategy. The next part will be doing a deeper dive into the customer in terms of really nailing down the type of customer that you want to have that you think fits your business. And that's going to be on the Tuesday session. So today we start the brainstorming. On Tuesday, we'll do a deeper dive into the customer. And then when you do that, you will refine and decide on your marketing strategy from that point on. Okay. Because on Thursday, we're going to wrap it all together and how you document it into a plan. Now, the key to remember is that your strategy will evolve over time. So don't think you have to get everything right when you start, because you may not. But you have to allow yourself some flexibility to change as you're getting feedback from your customer. If you're not getting sales, then that's the customer telling you that it doesn't meet their needs. And you have to be willing to listen to that. So marketing is not only about being customer oriented, but it's also about being flexible. Okay, so the marketing mix, very standard principle in the world of marketing. So when you start talking to marketing, you start bring up these terms, quiz them a little bit. Be like, okay, what's your marketing mix? The first principle around the marketing mix is the 4 Ps. That's the one everybody knows. And it's evolved over time, and I'll show you a couple other versions of this. So the the 4 Ps of marketing are place, price, product, and promotion. This is the bare minimum you need to know to start building your strategy. You can use any of these 4 Ps in combination, but the goal is that these are key elements involved in getting your product, your message, your brand in front of the customer. And so let's talk about product. Number 1, the first step of your marketing strategy and your marketing plan, you have to decide which product you're going to market. Because here's the thing. Many big businesses, they don't market every product they have all the time. I don't know how many of you have actually gone into a branch of a bank. I don't know the last time I've been inside a bank, but I used to work with a lot of bankers when I was a small business counselor. And there were so many account types and products you would never even heard of. Why? Because I was not their target market. Yeah, I knew all about their checking account, their savings account, maybe a money market account, maybe their retirement account, but they had all these other products you might not know about because they're not marketing that to you. So you have to pick which product you're going to market. And if you have a lot of them, you might have different strategies for different types of products. Okay. So first you got to decide what's the product, what's the good or service that your company is going to offer. And you have to decide either one or both of these. You have to decide whether you're trying to get that product to the existing consumer demand, right? Or are you trying to make a very compelling argument that you create a new demand, right? We have to be very careful with this because, like I said, you have to be customer oriented. It's what the customer feels that they need or want. Sometimes as consumers, we don't always know what we need or want, right? Perfect example, and I'll have this some advertising to go over on this next week, is the iPad. When the iPad came out, we didn't need an iPad. we were all quite happy with our laptop and our BlackBerry. I know that's aging ourselves to say BlackBerry, but back then BlackBerry was key. But then the iPad came out, and some of us just saw the advertising and lost our minds. We don't even know why we need it, but we were like, we need that. Because Apple proposed a very compelling value proposition. Number one, it was cool looking. It was a pretty looking piece of technology. And it added a new feature to our lives that we didn't have in the computer world, which is the touch screen. And so after a while, we were like, we all needed a tablet. And so they created a whole new category in technology. So yes, were they selling Macs like the laptops for the existing consumer demand? Yes, they were. But they created new products and had a new value proposition to create new demand. So you got to decide if you're doing both one or the other, or are you doing both? Next, you have to kind of decide on the price. Very, very important, okay? Price is what the consumer will pay for your product. And you have to think about linking the price to the product's real and perceived value. Let me repeat that. Real versus perceived value. Depending on your marketing, you can present a product as being more expensive than it actually is. Or you can present a premium product as being very affordable. So you got to decide what level your product is going to be at. So go back to the example of the iPad. It's a tablet, but it's still at the top of the premium market versus some other competitors who offer tablets at a very reasonable price. For Apple, you're going to pay more than what, $800+ for a good high-end iPad. But it does the same thing like than some of the other brands, like a Google Chromebook or some of the Samsung models that might be $400 or $500. But Apple, the way they do all their packaging, the way they present it to you, they present it as a premium product. So therefore, that you feel okay to pay more, even though it might not be giving you any more functionality than some of the other newer products out there now. Okay, so pricing becomes key. Now, pricing, there's a whole marketing courses on just pricing. So that can get very, very elaborate. But all thing I want you to do now is think about your product and think about, are you at the low end, the middle end, or the high end in terms of the pricing for your product? And then if you're going to be at high, low, or medium, how are you going to present that the consumer thinks that's a fair price for that product? Okay. Next is place. You got to determine where you will sell a product and how you will deliver the product to the market. So place becomes very, very important. Okay. So you got to think about what's your product, what's the pricing, and then where you place it, does it match up with the type of product? And does it match up with the perceived value you're trying to convince your consumer to pay? And then lastly, for the 4 Ps is promotion. So here we're referring to specific thoughtful advertising that reaches the target market at the right place and the right time. Okay. This is why you see some TV commercials only at some times of the day, only on some channels, right? Because they're really trying to not only promote the right product, highlight the price if it's fitting for that product. They want it to be in the right place. So they're using cable TV or streaming services to place an ad. But they're looking at the promotion in terms of what's the timing that ad is going to run. It might not run all day. That's why you see some infomercials only in the middle of the night, because they're trying to target those people who are impulse buyers, who are awake. They might got off at, shift work or something like that. They're up at 11, 12 o'clock. It might take them an hour or two to go to bed. They watch the infomercial and they were like, oh, I got to have that. And they're willing to pay anything and never use it, but they want to order it, right? So the placement is key, but the timing of promotion is also key. Many good products have not worked out simply because the timing wasn't right, okay? All right, So
We
that's
have a
the,
question, Dr. Walker.
sure, go ahead.
If you are in a market that you feel is saturated, what are some tips to get to giving the illusion of new demand?
Huh. You're jumping ahead to Tuesday session, but anyway, you gotta think if you're in a saturated market, first of all, you have to decide, are you gonna compete alongside everyone else? Because if you're gonna compete alongside everyone else, then most times you're gonna have to compete on price, trying to be the lowest price. But that's a very, very difficult thing to do because the big companies can always drop their price and you're gonna lose out. So what you have to do is you have to compete on the value proposition. You have to figure out what are the unique benefits and features your product offers that's different from everybody else. And if you don't find something different, you got to go back to the drawing board as what's different about your product. And it could be how the product is made. It could be how the product is delivered. It could be the packaging is delivered. It could be that the payment mechanism is delivered. Have you seen some websites now that if you can make a large purchase, you can do like installment plans, right? Has anybody seen those? So they're selling regular stuff, watches, jewelry, shoes, just like anybody else, but they've added different payment mechanisms. So maybe you don't have a credit card or don't want to use your credit card. They added a payment differentiation so that they're a little bit different from everybody else. Now the problem of being different is that you have to constantly work at it, because if it works, you will have competitors who will want to follow you, who will want to copy you. So it is an ongoing work of the business. And this is why our definition of a business is an operation that offers the value offering to customer or customer groups for payment, because any one of those elements can be different to attract customers. Does that make sense to you? I'm not sure who asked the question, but any feedback on that?
It does. It does. Thank you.
Yeah. So Monica, the revolutionist, so your platform is number one, the differentiators. Number one is going to be Haiti, right? You're gonna figure that out.
Mhm.
You might say, yes, it's also going to have a wellness component. You might say it also has the education component. You might say it has the Haiti DC mix component.
Mhm.
All of that starts to differentiate you from another platform that's doing wellness. But you got to do your research about the market. Who else is offering the exact same product that you are? And you're going to be surprised who is. You
Mhm.
also have to think about what is the customer using instead of your product. So like you said, you're going to sell tea, right?
Mhm.
Right. So what do people drink if they don't drink tea?
Smoothies, alcohol, coffee, a whole list of things.
So you
So
have to
many other
think about,
options.
exactly. You have to think about, do you want to figure out how does it mix well with those other things? How does it beat those other items in terms of providing refreshment? I don't know, because if your tea is just for health and wellness, that's a different kind of tea than if you're promoting the refreshment of tea, right? Does
Mhm.
that make sense? Those are two
Yeah.
different features. So you have to decide. And this is what you want to do, focus groups. You want to do some product testing. And so for one group of people, you might really talk about the refreshment of it, because they might do the iced tea thing. But since you're from the Caribbean, we do a lot of hot tea.
Mhm.
You might say those who are international, for them, you might promote the hot tea side of things, right? Because French and I think British colonies, we drink a lot more hot tea than coffee, if I'm not mistaken, with Haiti, correct?
Tea and coffee actually for Haiti, because we
Yeah, you
also
guys do
Valley
grow.
Haiti.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
grow. But those two things are your hot drinks, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But if you go down south, United States, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, what they drink there?
I'm thinking Georgia. I'm thinking sweet tea, right?
Exactly. Sweet tea. So for
Mhm.
them, you're gonna be like, oh, this makes the most delicious sweet tea you've ever had in your life. But those from the Caribbean, you're going to be like, this is going to be the most refreshing hot tea you've ever had. It's going to remind you of home. You see how the same product, but how the message is different.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm from the Caribbean and I don't get a lot of Caribbean products, I'm gonna be like, oh, this from Haiti. Okay. I'm not from Haiti, but I'm from Barbados. I'm from Trinidad. That's close enough. I'll try it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a different, I have a different feeling if I'm buying from that perspective. But if I'm from down south and you tell me this is close to a Georgia peach tea, this is close to lemon iced tea. If you're in Tennessee and people go like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try this. This is a new flavor to it. Yeah, and you'd be like, you're gonna feel like you're on your grandmother's porch on a hot summer afternoon, about to be playing basketball or something. I don't know, with a peach cobbler, or you see how it's a totally different ad, but same product.
Yeah. There's a visual aspect to it with the porch and I get it.
Yep. And for you, there are going to be a couple other types of marketing that are going to play well for you, because you can do pop-ups. You could do video demonstrations of how do you make hot tea, which is raw tea leaves. How do you make a great iced tea? Like, you could have a lot of fun with the visual, both in still photography and video. So you should have a lot of fun with your stuff. But great question.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else got a question? Okay. All right. So we went over the 4 Ps, right? Let me throw a little curveball at you. Marketing, like many other business subjects, keeps evolving as our technology and as business in general evolves. So now we do have what's called the 7 Ps. So we're going to add 3 more items to our initial 4. You must know the 4. Like, that's bare bones basic. Any small business must know the 4. But as you get more savvy and more comfortable with understanding your product, your competition, and your industry, I'm going to add 3 more elements to it, okay? So number 5 would be the physical evidence. So this is about everything your customer is going to see when interacting with your business. Anywhere from the actual brick and mortar store, the physical layout, the pop-up store, the physical layout, the signage, the furniture you might use, the packaging, the branding, even down to the uniforms, if you choose to use uniforms. The physical evidence is going to add to what your product is about. This is why almost every fast food restaurant, the employees wear uniforms, because they want to constantly, everywhere you look, they want to constantly reestablish in your mind that the food you're going to eat is going to be delicious, it's worth the price you're paid for, and it's worth stopping in, and you got it in 5 minutes or less, or whatever the case may be. I think McDonald's is like 30 seconds or 45 seconds they have as their goal about. But everything is reinforcing. The colors they use, everything is reinforcing that message. Number 6 would be the processes. So all the processes that your business is going to use to deliver the product and service to the customer. Because if your value proposition is that your product is easy to use, you may also want to think about how easy is it to get it to you, okay? How easy is it to open the package? How easy is it to get customer service? So if your value proposition is saying one thing, you got to think about all the processes and all the steps a customer might go through, and how you want to make sure it's reflecting the actual product. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? So the one example I like to use is Amazon. Amazon strategy, broad business strategy, is customer service at all costs, right? How that shows up on their website is that they have an ever increasing range of products that you could buy on their site. It's constantly growing, right? Because whatever you want, they're trying to get it to you. But the other layer to it that adds to their marketing strategy is that now they're like, we're going to get it to you as quickly as possible, even if they lose money on it. So that's why they have the 1-day, 2-day Prime. You can get it next week if you want to, but we offer, they're trying to get it down where they can get you something you order to you in 1 hour. And so everything is focused on that. So any interaction you have at Amazon is always about how do we get it to you faster? If you got to, return an item or refund an item or something like that, they tell you exactly, click this button and you go right into in an automated system. So everything is focused on getting you what you want as quickly as possible. So you can see how processes takes a little bit more understanding about your business. So you got to grow into really wrapping your head around that. Okay. Next is the people, your staff, the salespeople who work in your business, and including yourself, because most of you, it's just going to be you for the longest. Okay. If it's just you, you have to provide the customer service and experience that's going to match everything else that you're saying about your product. The product, the price, the promotion, the place. The people have to reinforce those 4 points. Okay. And this is why a lot of businesses, we all have those neighborhood little joints we like to eat at, but we be like, customer service just like sucks. Like, you really gotta want that jerk chicken to go there, right? To get it. Because you be like, you don't want to deal with everything else that might come with it. And this is why the businesses with great products have gone out of business, because they didn't have the processes and people in place to support the value proposition they were presenting to the customer. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So one more curveball. Okay. So there's the 4 P's. And over time, we've then developed the 7 P's. Now, we're now at the stage where more and more people are talking about the 9 P's of the marketing mix. So we went over the 4 and the 7. We're going to add one more layer to it. So we have here the partners, presentation, and passion. I do have a duplicate number 7 because sometimes the partners overlaps with the people, and sometimes partners overlaps with processes. Okay. So there's some duplication of it, but it's how in depth you're going with your product development. So just keep that in mind. So partner and strategic alliances is you determining what other people or organizations that your business is going to work with to present the value proposition. And we've all seen these commercials and we wonder why, like, wow, Doritos is really doing that. Yeah, because it's getting their product out in front of a new audience, or reminding an existing audience to come back to sell them. So that's why I think it was a couple of years ago, we saw Taco Bell and Doritos. So for those of you who might have a Spotify subscription, they did a deal with Starbucks. You could actually go into a Starbucks and you could get a free card for a Spotify access, that kind of thing. And they would highlight songs of the year or whoever's the hot artist at that time. But you can see how coffee and music would go together, right? Again, Starbucks is presenting their customer base to Spotify. Spotify is presenting their customer base to Starbucks, because as you're listening to Spotify, you might hear a Starbucks ad. Those companies working together, but it has to be companies that have the shared value. If you have totally different views on customers and products, it's probably not going to work out well. So you really need to be mindful who you build a relationship with your business. Next is presentation. Some authors have even said, they call it more storytelling than presentation, but it's really looking at all the other factors and figuring out how do you present it, how you display it, how you put it forth to your customer as a story. So instead of just, being very demonstrative and saying, here's the product, place, promotion, that kind of thing, how do you weave together a story about your product? And that story shows up in the product design. It shows up in the product promotion. It shows up in the pricing and how you even present the pricing. So this is a higher level of part of your marketing strategy. It's like, what is going to be the story behind your product? And then lastly, passion. Marketers are probably the most passionate of any discipline in business, because you do really have to feel for your product. You have to feel for your customer. So the ninth element that has been added to the mix is the passion. And we all know we have bought products because the salesperson or the advertising or the story we read on Instagram was so compelling that it just converted us over to buy the product. So think about how you feel and the emotions behind it as you're developing your entire marketing mix and the choices you're going to make about marketing. Passion is part of the marketing mix. Okay. Any questions, thoughts, aha moments? Any, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. We're good. Everybody's digesting it. Okay. So that was the marketing mix, right? All of the elements that you have to think about that goes into your marketing strategy. Now, the next 3 slides, I'm going to talk about the types of marketing, the actual activity that you might use as part of your marketing mix, okay? And this is also a growing list over time. So I think the longest list I found out was 19 different types of marketing. And some lists have some variation onto the topic. So this is evolving over time as well. And so it just tells you that you can get really creative when it comes down to marketing your product. But you know you're going to still stick to the 4 Ps. You still have to think about the product you're going to market, the pricing, the placement, and the promotion, right? Those are your 4. Now you're going to think about, okay, those are my 4 elements. What type of marketing do I actually put my money into to carry out those 4 things? Okay. So let's start off with just 2 very generic ones. We have B2C and B2B. Very straightforward. Part of your decision making will need to be, are you going to be marketing directly to the customer, i.e. the individual or group of customers? Or are you going to be directing your marketing to other businesses? Those are 2 different approaches, but you got to make that decision if it's fitting for your brand to do that. Now, for the revolutionary, Monica, you're probably going to be business to consumer, but you may over time evolve to where you're selling your product to other coffee and tea shops. And so that would be business to business. So just things to think about as you grow your business. The next few bullet points are more about traditional marketing. So just like we talked about the 4 Ps as being very traditional, we're just going to go through other examples of very traditional marketing that have been around a very long time. Number 1 is outbound. So here, you're focused on pushing your message out to the customer. So that would be a print ad, that would be a TV ad, that would be a billboard ad. You're not waiting for them to come to you. You're pushing it out to them. So it's a very common thing that you can use. We have personalized marketing. We've all experienced this. Some of us, it's gotten on our nerves, especially for me, so you have to be careful. So here, you're using customer information to customize, personalize the experience they get. So this is why we get certain emails. This is why we get certain text messages from businesses that we bought products from, and they have our contact information. So they're using our buying habits, the last time we interacted with them, as a means to develop the marketing. We have direct mail. People overlook direct mail because they think it's archaic, but it's still a multi-million-dollar industry and it still works. The key to about direct mail is that you're sending an advertising, so it's outbound. You're sending it to a specific address or set of addresses. So if you've done your market research and certain zip codes meet the income range for your product, you're going to want to send them direct mail because they might be that group that still opens the mail quicker than they will do email. So there's a age and maybe even a gender differentiation with that. So, but if you have an older clientele, or if your product is very discreet, in which mailing would be more appropriate than electronic, you might want to choose direct mail. And there are a lot of companies in which you can buy mailing addresses. You upload what you want on the postcard or whatever the case may be, and they handle everything from there. So that's a very viable option. You have partner marketing. So you're partnering with a news source to push out your information. You have word of mouth, which is probably one of the most effective forms of marketing. But here's the thing. It's your existing customers referring your business to new customers. So you have to build up a customer base for it to really, really start to take hold. Okay. You have stealth marketing. So here's when you're advertising or promoting your product to an audience and they don't even know they're being marketed to. So the classic example will be product placement. So if you watch a movie or a television show and you see Pepsi or Red Bull or something, that's product placement. That company paid to be, may have paid to be in that movie or television show. And you subconsciously would just register, oh, that was a Pepsi, oh, that was a Coke, not even knowing it. A lot of car companies do that with big budget films. We have brand marketing. So here you're playing more of a longer game. You're not just really just trying to sell a product quickly, but you're trying to build up a reputation with that potential customer base, because they're constantly seeing your logo, your colors, your certain messaging on a revolving basis. So they associate a feeling with your business. So when we see the golden arches, we automatically think of McDonald's French fries or the Happy Meal or whatever that case may be. When we see red and white, and it's on a soda can, we automatically think of Coca-Cola. That's how ingrained their products have become. We immediately associate that company with that product. And then we have cause marketing, which has been increasingly more and more popular as we have more and more social enterprises, as businesses start to care more about social issues or other important issues that might be out in the community. So here, your business chooses, that's the critical thing, chooses to back certain causes, a way of strengthening your brand value. So if you believe in certain thing as a company, and I'm gonna go back to the revolution as, if you believe in developing underserved communities, if you believe in developing communities who might be in poverty around the world, you might be showcasing other countries, you might be showcasing other neighborhoods and telling your customers how you're supporting them. That's how you're supporting a cause. The ad may not say anything about the product, but it might tell about your company and the cause, okay? Any questions so far? We're good? Monica J?
Wait, I tell everyone every time that I learn so much, like I can run away and just make a whole business right now. I feel like.
Well, your nickname is monetized, so I'm just waiting for it. It's gonna come to you. All right, so that was all the traditional stuff, okay? Now we've had the rise of technology and social media and the internet. Now there's a whole bunch of digital stuff that have become sometimes even more popular and sometimes have replaced some of the more traditional means of marketing, depending on what industry you're in. Again, you got to know your industry, okay? So we now have inbound marketing, and I think this is one of the most influential things that social media has done. Inbound, unlike outbound marketing, outbound, you're pushing the message out to the customer to grab their attention. Inbound marketing, you're bringing potential customers into your world, okay? So this is what makes Google famous. This is what makes Google money. When we do a search for something and we not only see maybe the company who produces that product, but we'll see a blog article from somebody, we'll see advertising from somebody else. All of that stuff is we're bringing that potential customer to our world because we wrote a blog about that topic, or we posted some information about that topic and had a hashtag that was associated with that topic. So in this case, search engine optimization becomes very, very critical. See, that's where you want to have the right keywords on your site, the right keywords in your Instagram and your social media posts, so that you can grab people's attention as they're going about their doing whatever they do on the internet. The thing is, it makes it far more costly to be competitive because you really do have to spend some time understanding what is going to get the attention of a search engine, okay? Content marketing and email marketing also is key. So the posts you might put on Facebook or Instagram, the topic you might talk about. So you might not even mention your product, but you might talk about tea and how tea has been, you might take a historical approach to tea. And somebody who's interested in history might be drawn to your post because they're interested in the history aspect. And all of a sudden you've now made them interested in your product. So that's how it all kind of intersects. So email marketing as well, you might educate, you might do encouraging of potential customers to interact with your brand or business, okay? This also is an opportunity to be very, very creative. This means you just don't have to talk about your product. You can talk about other things that are related to your business or your industry or your customers. And that gives people more reason to interact with your business, okay? We have search engine marketing. So here you're utilizing search engines specifically to do your advertising and do your promotion. So we've all probably heard of the pay-per-click advertising or suggested posts. So you pay Google that, if somebody searched this term or this word and it comes up on their screen, that's why everybody wants to be ranked on the first page. And when somebody clicks on it to see if it's relevant to what they want, that's when you actually pay for the ad, is when somebody clicks on it. But as you can see, you're reaching out to the customer versus just putting up an advertising that's very static. Okay? We have content marketing. Again, that's much related, just like we said, to inbound marketing. So also think about your ebooks and webinars that you can host. Again, the revolution is, I'm looking forward to this how to make sweet tea from Haitian tea. I'm all on it. I'm looking for the history of tea as a webinar. You can make it fun and interesting. You never know. Okay. You have affiliate marketing. So here a company pays commission to an external website for the sales that they're generating from their website referrals. Again, you have to be very careful of who you affiliate your business with. So that also goes back to the strategic alliances and the partnerships and the marketing mix. You have the social media marketing. Again, you're paying for ads on those social media platforms. I think TikTok is getting close to overtaking Facebook as being the most influential, I think, right at this point in time. So just like TikTok came along out of the blue, it's taken over from Instagram. As for the young folks, there will be some other platforms that come along. So you got to start looking into this, particularly a video and pictures are going to be a way of promoting your business. We have email marketing, as we talked about earlier, with inbound. And then you have the mobile marketing. So it's similar to email marketing, except this time you have people's cell phone number and they have given you permission to text them. And for some people who live more on their mobile phones in terms of text messaging versus email, mobile might be a better option than email, depending on, again, the target audience and your industry. Okay. And then we've had, in the non-traditional marketing space, we have the digital, but we cannot leave out the event marketing, which is another whole branch of marketing types. Two basic ones that are presented here are experimental and interactive. They have some overlap, so you really have to be careful. Sometimes the cost is prohibitive, but if you're creative, you don't rule this out as an option for your business. So here you're using some sort of event where people get to interact with your product in some way or somehow. So you have TV shows, movies that use an event to create an immersive experience. I think the pop-up events are probably the most classic example recently, because instead of you waiting for someone to come to your brick and mortar store, if you don't have a store, you're taking that experience to them, and then they get to experience your product in a different setting. For interactive marketing, Here, you're still doing an event or some face-to-face interaction, but people are doing something while they're at the event. And we've all been somewhere, they played some sort of game. You spin the game, you win a prize, that kind of thing. Again, it's just another reason for a person to interact with your business and to showcase your product. Okay. All right. We're about to wrap it up. Any thoughts, questions so far? I'm going to go through a couple of examples and quiz you a little bit. But how are we feeling?
I have one, I guess, quick question.
Sure, go
So
ahead.
one thing that's in my mind, and I think you brought it up a couple times, is the storytelling aspect of it. And I think it kind of overlaps with like, the placement of the product, the ads that you use, both traditional, non-traditional.
Yep.
You have storytelling coming into play if you do direct mail, if you do, just like current advertisement, TikTok, Instagram,
Yep.
all that stuff. Do you have any sort of, I guess, resources in terms of like what's important when it comes to storytelling, just to make sure that you're telling not the right story, but like a story that's actually going to capture people's attention, however way that the marketing is being brought about?
Right. Yeah, I've been asked that before. I have not found, I would say, a reliable source for that, because most times everybody's story is going to be different, right? So it's very difficult to like just duplicate because you saw this somewhere or you have a template, because the story has to be so meaningful and relatable in terms of your business and your product, right? Because who would be able to tell the story of Haiti from your eyes other than you? And so this is where you really have to be very deliberate, and you have to spend time writing down what is significant about the product. And you have to think about the product, again, not only from your perspective, but from a customer's perspective. And some of this just has to be, I hate to say it, you got to do some trial and error to see what organically catches on. Okay. So I would caution trying to just like look at an example to do it versus you sitting down. First of all, write your story. Number one, because there has been research on the number of people who click on website and they go to the About Us page. I think it's on the second or third most visited page on a website, right? The About Us page is the initiation of your story. And so if you use that as the stepping stone, then you just build upon it as time goes on. As you get feedback and responses from various advertising, when you start to see a certain post gets the greatest amount of response, if it's the history, if it's stuff that's specific about Haitian communities, or if it's stuff about the South, then you start to think like, oh, okay, they're gravitating to that part of the story. Then you know what you need to develop more. But this is the patience that you got to have, and the time you need to invest in the research to get it going. Does that make sense?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah, because people want to shortcut that. But here's the thing. And when people buy the story, you could sell them anything almost. I mean, but think about it. Look, let me give you an example. McDonald's. What's the story of McDonald's? Can you guess?
I don't know. Didn't he like start small and then like scale like expeditiously?
Yeah. The history buff, the business buffs, they might know that story. We don't even know most people don't even know the real founders of McDonald's. Because Ray Kroc, who owned the company, was not the one who founded the company. He's the one who bought them out. He bought out the McDonald's brothers for like $1 million each or something crazy back in the day, right? But here's the story of McDonald's. We all tried McDonald's for the first time, maybe when we was like 4 or 5 years old. That's their whole marketing strategy. We're gonna get them while they're young, then get this Happy Meal. And then all the jubilant times of your life. How many times in your life do you remember going to the McDonald's drive-thru because that was a treat from your mother she didn't feel like cooking, whatever the story was. And then you get constant joy from that. That's McDonald's. They are not known for saying hello, how are you? You know, Chick-fil-A is my pleasure. McDonald's not known for that. McDonald's is like hot fries, a decent burger, and you're gonna be out of here in 30 seconds, and your kid's gonna be singing in the backseat with the Happy Meal. That's McDonald's. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
So you see all their commercials. What is it about? It's about fun times, right? It's about a refreshing Coca-Cola. It's about the hot apple pie. It's all of these things. It just keeps adding to our memory bank that, okay, next time I'm hungry, I got to have some McDonald's fries. We are so addicted to McDonald's. We will buy the sandwich from somewhere else and then drive across town to the McDonald's to get the fries. How insane is that? They got us. Chick-fil-A has a similar story, right? Chick-fil-A is all about chicken. Have you seen their commercials where they make fun of the cow? Or the cow's making fun of chicken, right? Because they're like, they're not gonna sell anything but chicken, right? So they're making fun about chicken. But it's a company based on Christian values, right? So they're closed on Sunday. And guess what we do?
I hate that.
And guess what we do though? We drive by on Sunday, we be like, dang, they're closed. And then we'll go back on Monday. And then we'll be so delighted when everybody says my pleasure, right? Because that's their thing. Christian values, being wholesome and being greeting of the customer and all of that. That's not McDonald's, right? But they got us, sweating us. We will be in a line around the block for Chick-fil-A. We won't be in a line around the block for McDonald's. But for Chick-fil-A, it'll wrap around the parking lot out into the main road of the shopping center, and we'll sit there just so we can hear them say my pleasure and to get the sweet tea and the lemonade. So all of that's part of the story. But all of that's based upon their Christian values. So as soon as you walk in, there's something on the wall about the Christian values. And then there's some playful advertising about chicken and beef and how the cows want you to eat more chicken or something like that. But that's their vibe. So you see how the storytelling could be so creative. It could be any number of angles. And so I don't want you to lock into one way. I want you to think about who you are, why you're doing it. And there's a great book on purpose. I'll get a list of books together for you. And companies that are based on a purpose, not just a mission or a vision, but a purpose, are the ones that are the most successful. So what you're really looking for is that purpose that you're going to wrap a story around, and it happens to be associated with a certain levels of products and services. That's what makes business so much fun. But I hope that makes sense to you.
It does. Thank you.
Great. All right. So we're just going to wrap up with a couple of examples now to see if it sparks some creativity, some aha moments. So I just searched a number of products and some number of companies and some articles about different marketing strategies. So I just picked some ones that I thought were interesting. And next week I'll move from pictures to video, and we'll do some print ads just to keep the examples flowing, to keep the juices going in terms of creativity. So here, one of my favorites is Spotify. Full confession, I have the app and I bought the subscription. I don't know why. I can do the ad free, but I don't want to hear the ads, but I have Spotify, right? And so their whole marketing strategy is based upon providing an alternative user experience, because they're not the radio. They're not the radio, but they offer a wide variety of audio experiences. You get to choose what's important to you, whether it's a podcast, whether it's an album, or whether it's a certain genre of music, whether it's a certain type of artist that's your favorite. And in doing so, you get the chance to discover new music. So I don't know how many of you have a Spotify app, but if you want to download the free one just to take a look, the way they've laid out their app it really just lets you just be like, let me just look around. Oh, I didn't even know they had a podcast. You know, I didn't know Kevin Hart had a podcast before the COVID. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen to him. So it just provides you all of these avenues for audio and listening that you couldn't get with traditional radio and that you don't get with their competitors like Pandora. So this is one of their ads, one of their billboard ads, which is outbound marketing. And they say it's the free app for people who aren't looking for anything serious. So they're not even taking themselves serious. But here again, it reinforces the ease of looking for something interesting. Because they have a free version. They're okay if you don't get the subscription because they have advertising as another revenue stream to support the product. So if we think about the 4 Ps, this billboard is promoting the free app. That's the product. It's not the subscription because that's a different product. It's promoting the free app. The pricing, they say it up front, is free. The place and promotion, this is a billboard, outbound marketing, and it's on a very busy street. I don't know the name, but from the research I read, they're promoting it in a way that people are driving in their cars. And so if you have the app on your phone, guess what? You can have the app in your car. So this is a very smart way, example of how they are exhibiting the 4 Ps. Okay. Another example, this is another one of my favorite, even though my doctor says I shouldn't drink Red Bull, but listen to your doctor. So Red Bull, putting identify before product. Here's the thing about Red Bull. When you go to their website, you don't even know that they're an energy drink because they are all about the events and activities that are associated with high energy that you don't even know it's a drink. So they prioritize experiences over promoting an actual product. And so this is why they sponsor a lot of extreme sports event like motocross riding. This exhibit here was in Istanbul where this plane was flying through the tunnel. So it's a high risk but exciting but creative activity. So again, the 4 Ps, the product, it's hidden. So it's only their branding you see, but the product is high energy because that's what the drink is about. The pricing, they don't mention it in this particular stunt. The place, so they chose an exotic place, Istanbul. You would never think about that as a place for high energy. Can be a fairly conservative place. And the promotion is an event, a high energy event, in which you have this very adventurous pilot flying through a tunnel that was not built for a plane. How exciting is that? And it was in addition to other events that they were hosting at the time. Okay. And then lastly, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the shoe company. It's fairly new in comparison to some of the others. It's called Allbirds. And they're trying to be the most comfortable shoe in the world. So their advertising, their marketing has a little bit of humor. They're very transparent about the how they make their product and emphasizing the sustainability. So in this particular ad, they have, and I think this was an electronic ad because it would take you directly to their site to do shopping for either men or women. They're saying its natural materials are always in season. So putting a play on, the fashion seasons, but emphasizing that they're dedicated to making sure they're providing, environmentally friendly products. So in this way, this ad is consistent with a tone of voice, it's consistent with their values, and it's consistent throughout all their pieces of their marketing, whether it's a web page or an advertising or something like that. So you can see how a shoe becomes very dynamic. It's not like Nike that's targeting the athlete or those who want to be athletes or those who just want to be active. This is all about comfort, but believing in something behind a little bit of a cause marketing in terms of being sustainable. Okay, so just a couple of examples for you to look at. Any thoughts or questions? That's all we have for tonight. As we wrap up, we're right on time. How are we feeling, Miss Miss Revolutionary and Miss DHED. And Miss Stokes, the RN, right?
I feel good. I wrote down a lot of notes. This was I know I missed the first one, but I think I was able to catch on pretty quick and get a lot of notes. So yeah, very helpful.
Great. Yeah, watch the first one over the weekend and you'll be ready for next week.
Yeah.
Miss Stokes, how you feeling?
Lots of wonderful information. And what I really like hearing today was about the purpose of the companies most successful, especially coming from healthcare perspective.
Yes,
It's like the
yes.
purpose of what I'm going to be doing and providing for not just the patient, but the family.
Yep.
So
yeah,
I
make
love
sure you put
today's
you
session.
into it. Yeah, you gotta put you into it. I mean, that's one reason why Apple is so successful, right? Because it was almost about the founders being these oddball characters saying they're gonna make computers differently from everybody else. But back then IBM was king, and they were like, two guys in the garage, and they were like, we're gonna make sure everybody has a personal computer. That was their purpose. They were like, everybody's gonna have a computer. And back then, only companies bought computers, and everybody was like, "Who are these two characters?" Who knew that the computer would actually end up being the cell phone? But that was
Right.
Steve Jobs' dream. He was like, "Everybody's gonna have a computer. I don't care. We gonna," and he forced his team. He was very domineering. Like, there's a lot of stories of how he was so, dogged with his staff because it had to be right. But part of his business strategy that influenced the marketing strategy, he was like, it's got to be pretty and it's got to be easy to use. And if you think about any Apple product, I have never read the manual for the iPad. I don't even know where it is. But I got the sweet little red cover. I was like, ooh, that's cute. I'm gonna get that with it. I pressed the power button and I'm off and running, right? And so even though I'm not a diehard Apple person, if you think about the products they've made over the last 20, 30 years, they've always been different. They always look unique, but they did the work. They did the job and they gave you a feeling. So that's how they got that kind of cult following. And there was a time Apple was in trouble because there was a time they fired Steve Jobs. He went on to start what's the animation company, and Apple started to tank, and then they brought him back. But because he was so dogged about his purpose, he discontinued products that weren't working, and then came the iPod. After the iPod, iPhone and iPad, and changed the world. Literally changed the world. So yes, dig down into your purpose. So we'll talk a little bit about that when we wrap up how you put this all together, but I'll get some resources for you. And it's a quick and easy book that I like to read that'll be really helpful for you guys. But anybody else, any thoughts, any closing remarks, questions, aha, I would like to share things, feel free. The floor is yours.
Miss Wesley wrote in the chat that she took a lot of notes as well. Thank you, Dr. Walker, and hope that the attendees take advantage of the one-on-one coaching sessions.
Yes, please do. And like I said, like Monica said earlier, please feel free to send us, if you have a business already, the website or whatever. We like to support local. I like to spread the word to other colleagues of mine. I think DC folks are some of the most industrious folks, and we need to be on the map as being entrepreneurs as well as being a fabulous city. I think you guys have everything you need to grow empires, literally, in this city. So thank you. And that's my time, Monica, right? So I'll stop my sharing.
We are done. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to, and also just keep in mind that the link and the Zoom ID and pass the code are still the same for next Tuesday and Thursday. So if you know anyone else that would love to hear some of this information, please share it with them as well. And we look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday.
Have a great weekend.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye.
too. Bye bye.